Just say these 6 Stoic phrases and you'll see their attitude change instantly. Stoic philosophy. Have you ever wished that with just one sentence you could make someone go quiet instantly? Not by shouting over them, not by arguing until you're exhausted, but with a kind of sharp calmness, so strong they simply can't keep talking. Most people think power lives in volume, but the Stoics understood a deeper truth. The calm one is the strongest person in the room. And today, you're going to learn 5 responses so intelligent that even the most annoying, the loudest, or the most domineering person will have to stop. If you've ever been interrupted in a meeting, disrespected in a conversation, or had someone try to dominate you, this video will change the way you communicate forever. Take a deep breath and watch until the end. Your calm power begins here. Part 1. Soft hook and inner pain reframe. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in gently. And let me ask you this, a question you may have kept in your heart for a very long time. Have you ever wished you could say just one sentence and make the other person fall completely silent? Not silent because you shouted louder, not silent because you scared them, but silent because what you said was so true, so sharp, so strong, that it cut through all the chaos and forced them to stop. You've probably been in a moment like that, a conversation where you tried to explain something perfectly reasonable, yet the other person kept overpowering you. They spoke louder, they talked over you. They spoke as if the truth belonged to them, not to you. And you sat there, choking up, your heart racing, your breath getting heavier, feeling as if everyone around you was leaning toward them just because they were louder. You were right, but still disrespected. You weren't wrong, but you were pushed into the weaker position. You wanted to stay calm, but their dominance made you feel like you were sinking, little by little. I know that feeling, because I've stood in that painful silence too. Let me tell you about a memory, a meeting. I was presenting an idea I had prepared for an entire week. I had barely finished 3 sentences when a colleague cut in. His voice was louder, more confident, more aggressive. I tried to continue, but he kept interrupting, as if he had the right to do that. Some people laughed with him, some nodded along with him. And me? I stood there, heart pounding, face burning, feeling so small I wanted to disappear. Not because I was wrong, but because they never gave me the chance to be right. And there was another time, in a family argument, when I just wanted to say something simple, gentle, calm. But they raised their voices. They imposed their views. They heard nothing except the sound of their own voices. You know that feeling, don't you? That feeling that no matter how rational you are, you still get crushed by the volume of someone else. Then there was another time. Someone threw a sarcastic comment at me, just one line, but it weighed so heavily on my chest. I wanted to respond. I wanted to say something powerful back, but my throat closed up. It was like hundreds of words I wanted to say were stuck inside. If you've ever gone through moments like that, know this: you are not alone. You're not the only one who's been right but forced into silence. You're not the only one who's been disrespected just because you weren't loud enough. And most importantly, you are not weak. Maybe you've asked yourself, why can't I speak up? Why do they get more support the louder they talk? Why do I lose even when I'm right? These are not the questions of a weak person. They are the questions of a mind that is waking up. The truth is, you're not losing the argument. You just don't have the tools yet. You don't yet know how to turn your inner strength into power in your words. You don't yet know how to use wisdom to make people stop and listen. And once you understand this, the shame starts to fade. The helplessness softens. Hope begins to return. It's not that you're weak. You're simply unequipped. And today, I'm going to give you the tools. 5 responses, 5 sentences, 5 sharp arrows, 5 communication tools used by some of the strongest people in history to silence anyone, not with shouting, but with wisdom. Because Stoics, they didn't win through noise. They won through clarity, through self-control, through the stillness of a mind that doesn't get shaken. Marcus Aurelius didn't need to raise his voice to lead an empire. Seneca didn't need to scream to earn respect. Epictetus didn't need physical strength to silence the person in front of him. They used clarity. They used control. They used calmness as a silent weapon. And from this moment, you'll have that weapon too. But before we go deeper, do this with me. Take a deep breath in, very slowly. Feel your body soften. Feel your mind begin to open. You are safe here. No one is overpowering you anymore. No one is talking over you anymore. It's just you and the truth waiting to be spoken. Part 2. Stoic Understanding. Now, let's step into the most important part. The part where you'll understand why you've lost in conversations that should have been simple, and why, by changing just a few small details, your entire communication style can transform. Not because you'll learn to dominate others, but because you'll finally understand how humans really operate in arguments, in emotions, in instinct, and in their own fears. And once you understand that, you'll never be steamrolled again. Here's a truth very few people dare to say out loud. Most toxic arguments don't explode because of right and wrong. They explode because of ego. When someone speaks louder, interrupts more, dominates harder, it's usually not because they own the truth. It's because they're afraid of your truth. When someone feels threatened by your logic, they respond with volume. When they can't win with reasoning, they try to win with energy. And people who can't control their emotions often believe that shouting louder means being stronger. But the Stoics saw through this thousands of years ago. Epictetus said, "No one can make you angry unless you give them permission." What does that mean? It means that in every argument, even when you're shaking, when your heart is racing, when you want to scream back, what they're truly after is not your truth. What they're after is control over your reaction. If you explode, they win. If you panic, they win. If you lose your rhythm, they win. But if you stay calm, you break the entire game. In every conversation, the truly powerful person is not the one who talks the most, not the one who talks the loudest, and not the one who talks the fastest. The strongest person is the one who keeps their own tempo. The one who speaks at the right moment. The one who speaks clearly. The one who says less but says it precisely. The one who doesn't react to the other person's emotions. That's why you felt like you lost even when you were right. You didn't lose because you were wrong. You lost because you let them pull you into their rhythm, a rhythm of chaos, speed, dominance, and raw emotion. The Stoics called this losing sovereignty over your mind. When your mind is dragged along by someone else, you surrender your authority. You stop making conscious decisions. You just react. At that point, no matter how good your words are, people can't feel your strength because your energy is being controlled by the other person. But when you keep your stillness, you keep your power. I want you to remember this because it is the foundation of the 5 responses you're about to learn. An argument is only dangerous when you lose yourself inside it. If you remain yourself, you've already won before you say a single word. Now let's look at the deeper root of toxic arguments. Someone raises their voice? That's self-defense. Someone cuts you off? That's fear of being ignored. Someone mocks you? That's their insecurity talking. Someone forces their opinion on you? They're not sure of it themselves. Someone tries to prove you're inferior? They're trying to cover a crack inside themselves. And the most beautiful, yet hardest lesson Stoicism teaches is this. When you understand someone else's fear, you stop being afraid of them. Many people believe that to win in communication you have to hit harder. But Stoics do the opposite. They observe. They look through the other person's emotion to see their real nature. A human being controlled by anger, by instinct, by insecurity. Once you see that, you rise above the situation rather than stand in the same chaos. You start to lead the conversation instead of fighting it. You start to use wisdom instead of reaction. And that is the difference between someone who talks a lot and someone whose words carry weight. Remember this, too. Modern society is strange. Loud people are often labeled confident. Calm people are sometimes seen as weak. But that's an illusion. Look at those who truly hold power. They don't scream. They don't constantly interrupt. They don't try to impress. They don't need to prove anything with their volume. Because they know the weak need noise. The strong need only clarity. Stoicism teaches that all real power begins inside. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The tranquility within you is a fortress that no one can breach unless you open the gates yourself." No one has the right to define you in an argument unless you hand them that right. When you let someone make you lose your temper, you've unconsciously handed them the key to your fortress. But when you can stand firm in the storm, they start looking at you differently. Not because you dominate them, but because they can't dominate you. If you pay attention, you'll see that every conversation has 2 operating modes. Mode 1, emotional reaction. They listen only to respond. They speak to defend. They attack because they're afraid of being attacked. This is the mode most people fall into, not because they're bad, but because they lack emotional control skills. Mode 2, wise response. They listen to understand. They observe to recognize. They speak when it's needed, no more, no less. They're not in a hurry. They're not dragged by tone, pace, or attitude. And when they speak, everyone listens. Because calmness is a very special sound. It's not loud, but it resonates. It's not fast, but it's deep. It doesn't overpower, but it makes the other person look at themselves. This is the deeper reason why the 5 responses you're about to learn feel so powerful. Not because they threaten others, not because they're sharp like blades, but because they shift you from emotional mode into wisdom mode. They pull you out of the chaotic rhythm the other person is trying to impose. They bring you back to the center of yourself, where you see everything clearly again. And when you're at your center, others will have to adjust around you. You become the gravitational pull. You become the main rhythm. You become the strongest energy in the conversation. Look at what happens when you apply this in real life. In a meeting, the hot-headed one usually wins the first 3 minutes, but the calm one wins the next 30. In a family argument, the one who yells often wins the emotional moment, but the calm one wins long-term respect. In a conflict between friends, The one who reacts fastest wins the moment, but the one who thinks deeply wins the whole situation. In a romantic relationship, the one who talks more may win the words, but the one who speaks truth wins the heart. And in every context, the person who keeps their calm, who sees through the meaning behind each word, each tone, each behavior, is the one who truly holds control. Not control over others, control over themselves. Have you noticed this? When you lose your calm, the conversation drags you around. But when you stay calm, you pull the conversation toward you. That is the essence of silent power. From now on, you will no longer step into arguments feeling lower, because you now understand the principle behind every human interaction. The calm one is always stronger than the loud one. The self-controlled one is always stronger than the reactive one. The one who sees through is always stronger than the one who attacks. And that is the foundation, the ground for the 5 responses you're about to wield like the sharpest swords you've ever held. But before we step into the next part and learn each sentence one by one, I want you to do this with me, just once more. Take a deep breath in, hold for 2 seconds, and exhale gently. Feel that? Your rhythm is returning. Your mind is steadying. You are returning to the place the Stoics called the inner citadel, the fortress within, where no one can shake you unless you allow it. And when you're standing inside that fortress, every sentence you're about to learn will become a weapon no one can resist. If you're ready, say to yourself, continue to part 3. Part 3. Practical healing tools. Now that you understand the Stoic foundation, now that you are standing firm inside your inner fortress, it's time for me to give you the 5 strongest tools to turn your calmness into real power. These responses are not meant for attack, not to destroy someone, not to turn you into a new oppressor. They exist for one purpose: to help you defend yourself without losing your dignity, to establish a calm authority that makes others think twice, to protect your energy from chaos, and most importantly, to let you lead the conversation instead of being dragged through it. These 5 sentences are not sharp weapons pointing outward. They are armor pointing inward. They don't help you win with volume. They help you win with clarity. And when you use them correctly, you'll notice something. Your calmness becomes the kind of power that even the loudest people step back from. Let's start with the first sentence: gentle, sharp, and capable of cutting through all noise around you. Response 1. I don't need to raise my voice to be right. When you say this, you're sending a very strong signal. I don't play by your rules. Psychologically, angry people always try to pull you into their universe, a universe where whoever shouts the loudest wins. But when you say, I don't need to raise my voice to be right, you shatter the rhythm they're trying to force on you. You make them realize that the game they're using to control the conversation no longer works on you. The immediate effect of this sentence is simple. You pull the room down from emotional noise into rational space. Instead of chasing their anger, you force them to cool down to match your pace. Picture this. In a meeting, a colleague cuts you off, speaks louder than you, tries to hijack the attention. They expect you to react. They expect you to get angry. But you simply look at them calmly and say, I don't need to raise my voice to be right. The room's energy shifts instantly. They go quiet. And you don't just keep your dignity, you take control. In a family argument, the more they shout, the softer you speak. And then you say this line. It forces them to slow down. It makes them surprised because there's nowhere left to attack. Stoic meaning, The message is clear. The one who controls themselves holds the real power. 30-second exercise. Say this sentence slowly from your diaphragm. No trembling, no rushing, no pressure. Let your breath push the words out steadily. You'll feel something. Your calmness is starting to take shape. Response 2. The way you speak says more about you than about me. This is a psychologically powerful mirror. When someone mocks you, insults you, or throws harsh words at you, they want a reaction. They want you to explode. They want to drag you into their energy. But when you use this sentence, you don't attack back. You don't defend yourself either. You simply hand them a mirror. And then something strange happens. For the first time, they hear themselves. Imagine someone says to you with a contemptuous tone, "That's a stupid way to think." Instead of arguing, you respond calmly. The way you speak says more about you than about me. They freeze for a moment, because that sentence hits their awareness directly, forcing them to see their own rudeness. At work, if a coworker speaks to you with sarcasm, you don't have to explain yourself. Just say this. You reclaim your power in silence. Stoic meaning. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who harmed you." When you use this line, you're not getting revenge. You're rising above. Voice exercise. Practice saying this sentence with a very soft but crystal clear tone, about 15% slower than your usual pace. The gentleness is what makes it cut deeper. Response 3. Let's talk when we can do it respectfully. This sentence resets the rhythm of the entire conversation. You're not closing the door, you're raising the standard. When someone is heated, interrupting, or attacking you, that conversation is no longer a conversation. It's a storm, and no one finds truth in a storm. When you say, "Let's talk when we can do it respectfully," you set the condition for the conversation to be meaningful. You're not running away. You're choosing the right time. You're taking back control over when and how communication happens. In a family conflict, someone is emotional, saying things that hurt you. You know that if you continue, both of you will go too far. You stop and say this line. Immediately, the atmosphere shifts. No one can keep attacking you without feeling some shame. In a romantic relationship, this sentence is a lifesaver. It says, "We can continue, but not like this." Stoic meaning. Epictetus taught, "You cannot control what others do, but you can control what you accept." This sentence is that principle in action. Practice. Stand in front of a mirror and say this 3 times, each time slower. You will feel a quiet certainty grow inside you. Response 4. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. This is the sentence you use when the conversation has become toxic. When the other person doesn't want to understand, doesn't want to exchange, doesn't want truth. They only want to win. At that point, continuing to talk is just wasting your energy, your time, and your dignity. This sentence doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't justify. It doesn't explain. It is a clean ending. Imagine someone is cornering you. They keep attacking, pushing from every angle. You look at them calmly, no anger, no trembling, and say, "I'd prefer not to continue this conversation." Everything stops. Not because you ran away, but because you ended a war you never needed to fight. With negative, provocative, or toxic people, this sentence is your key to walk out without scars. Stoic meaning. Marcus Aurelius said, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't be." When you leave a toxic conversation, you haven't lost. You've won by protecting your mind. Practice. Train saying this with a deep, steady breath. As you speak, let your shoulders soften. The calmness in your body will flow into your voice. Response 5. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. This is the sentence of an inwardly free person. No confrontation, no surrender, no insult, no defensiveness. It's a perfect intellectual boundary. When someone tries to impose their views on you, family, friends, co-workers, they're not always trying to destroy you. They just want you to be like them. But you don't have to be like anyone. Example, your family tries to force a career path on you. You could argue for hours, or you could simply say this. You'll feel the air change. They have nowhere left to attack because you didn't deny them. You just affirmed yourself. Another example. A friend insists on their lifestyle choices and pressures you to agree. You don't have to fight. This sentence is enough. Stoic meaning. Seneca said, "To be a slave to the opinion of others is the worst prison." This sentence is the key out of that prison. Practice. Sit still for a minute. Place your hand on your chest and read this line slowly. Feel the freedom in every word. Now let's end this section with a small practice, a 1-minute protocol to encode these 5 sentences into your natural reflex. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And in that stillness, say each sentence slowly. I don't need to raise my voice to be right. The way you speak says more about you than about me. Let's talk when we can do it respectfully. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. Feel the power of calm spreading from within you through each phrase. Imagine yourself using them in a real situation. See how people stop, how the room shifts, how you reclaim your rightful place. And remember, these sentences are not just words. They are tools. They are shields. They are light. They are boundaries. They are your strength. Part 4. Stillness Descent. Now, let everything slow down. Let your mind soften like the surface of water after the wind has passed. Take a deep breath in and let your shoulders relax, allowing the last bits of tension to fall away like tired leaves. Relax your neck. Relax your chest, letting your breath move in more easily, more warmly, more gently. You are not in any argument now. No one is pulling you into the past. No one is dragging you toward the future. You are here, right now, safe, calm, whole. And in this moment, I want you to feel something very simple but deeply important. You don't need to shout to be heard. In this noisy world, your calmness is the loudest sound. Others may speak loudly, interrupt you, try to dominate you, but when you stand firm in your own clarity, every other noise starts to shrink. You don't need to win to keep your dignity. Winning and losing belong to the ego. Dignity lives in your heart. And when you stay calm inside chaos, you have already won the most important battle. You have won against yourself. You don't need to prove anything to be worthy. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. Not to the one who insulted you. Not to the one who belittled you. Not to the one who talked over you. You are worthy not because they admit it, but because you know it from deep within. And now, let me remind you of the 5 sentences that have become your new tools. Close your eyes and hear them as if they were the beat of your own heart. I don't need to raise my voice to be right. Your breath slows down. Calmness becomes your armor. The way you speak says more about you than about me. You are no longer dragged into someone else's energy. Let's talk when we can do it respectfully. This is your right, the right to choose the time and manner of dialogue. I'd prefer not to continue this conversation. You walk out of toxic exchanges without leaving wounds inside yourself. That's your opinion, and I respect it, but I don't share it. You stand firm in your own stance, peaceful, without confrontation. These sentences are not only for moments when you are attacked, they are extensions of who you truly are, calm, deep, hard to shake. Let me tell you one last thing, very slowly, very gently. You are becoming a calmer, stronger, unshakable version of yourself. Now let these next 10 seconds pass in silence. Let everything settle, melting into each breath. If you want to nourish this inner peace more deeply, come back and listen again whenever you need. No pressure, no expectations, just a gentle invitation. Each night, listen again to reset your peace in communication. You deserve this stillness. You've entered it, and it will stay with you. And sharp now, as these 5 sentences have sunk into you, remember this. Real power doesn't live in volume. It lives in the stillness within you. Each time someone tries to overpower you, let yourself return to the calm you've just learned. You don't need to shout to be right. You don't need to react to prove yourself. You only need to stand firm in your own clarity. If you practice these sentences and use them at the right moment, they will change how people see you, speak to you, and respect you. But more importantly, they will change how you see yourself. Today, you learned how to say less and mean more. Next time, I'll show you even deeper tools so you don't just calm the storm. You lead it. Wait for the next video. You won't want to miss it.